Welcome to the Grow Your Practice podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Chad Madden, owner of Madden Physical Therapy and Breakthrough. Join me each week as we dive into the best practices, systems, principles, tips, and tricks to help you grow your private practice. How can I get more people to use my add-on cash-based services? What's the best way for me to promote? Obviously, I invested in this piece of equipment. Let's say it's a laser, new fit, a run DNA, etc. This add-on cash-based service. And what's the best way for me to promote that I have now a new service? And how can I market so that my team doesn't feel like they have to sell? And by sell, I mean convincing people to buy things that they don't really want, right? That's the common fear that we have as clinicians. In this episode, I wanted to do something special. Just last week, I was invited by Mark Callanan and the team at Innovus to participate in a roundtable at CSM in Houston, Texas. A huge honor to be there. They had a great panel. Gary Calabrese was there from the Cleveland clinics. He oversees over 100 outpatient clinics within the Cleveland Clinic network. Daniel Keller was there. He's a private practice owner in Buffalo, New York. Dan was absolutely awesome. Ryan McConnell was there. He is an assistant professor at Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee, and teaches specifically on laser, shockwave, and other modalities. Kevin Wilk was there. Everybody knows Kevin. He's been running the Champion Sports Medicine, which is with, Dr. James Andrews down in Alabama for the last 39 years. And yeah, it was absolutely an honor to be on the panel. And we were discussing modalities and add-on services within the practice. What I shared there at that roundtable is exactly what I want to give you the highlights on here within this episode. So let's get started. Why do we want to add cash-based services? Well, one is better outcomes, right? All about the patient, helping patient achieve better outcomes. I'll tell one anecdotal story here that happened recently. We had somebody reached out. And just full transparency, we have 3 lasers within our 6 clinics and are looking at adding more. And yeah, but when you do this the right way, you differentiate your practice, you help patients get better outcomes, you get an ROI for your investment, right? If we're paying $20, $30, $40, $50,000 for a piece of equipment, absolutely, yes, we want the better outcomes. We also want a return on that investment, right? For that capital outlay. We get to leave a bigger impact. We can improve our revenue, top line revenue per visit, and ultimately our bottom line. And the other thing it does is helps differentiate our clinic. I do want to share that anecdotal story with you, but I also want to talk about the challenge, because what I'm about to share with you, it's not super easy, right? To roll out an add-on, a cash-based service. In 2017, when I first met Innovus, who then was known as Lightforce. Yeah, Lightforce became Chattanooga, they became part of Chattanooga, then Chattanooga is now part of Innovus. So I know that's a little bit confusing, but yeah, it's one and the same company today. We wanted to add a cash-based service, and what I had started sharing back in 2015 is that if you look at the declining reimbursements from CMS from 2008 to 2015, the trends did not look great, right? And today, here in 2025, we know that there's a 16% reduction over the last 17 years in the physician fee schedule, which determines how much we're reimbursed for in private practice PT. So yeah, pretty brutal, but we saw those trends in 2015. I also tell that there was, we had very low interest rate environment at the time, but that couldn't last forever. It ended up lasting, 5 or 6 more years, which was kind of crazy. But nonetheless, I knew that our costs would go up over time. And what I had shared back in 2015 at an association event is I believe there will be a day where if we don't have add-on cash-based services on the back end of our business, on the back end of our core services, that we were going to be in trouble. And eventually we would all be forced to shift over to a hybrid model. And only the companies that were willing to do that would ultimately survive and be able to expand, leave a bigger impact, keep their doors open, etc. I did not expect it to happen this quickly, within 9 or 10 years. I thought it would take longer, but I'm not Nostradamus, can't possibly know the future, but I can look at trends and assess. So we were talking about it back then. I'm a manual therapist by heart, by trade, by, the majority of my research, Con Ed that I've ever done. The therapists that we've hired were 100% of our DPTs have the COMT. We have, an amazing group of therapists with awesome manual therapy skills, very high clinic, and we take great pride in that. So that was a bit of a struggle, right? To bring in a modality. And what I had shared in Nashville is what a lot of us did is I think we threw the baby out with the bathwater. When I went to PT school, MSPT school for my master's in the late 90s at College Misericordia, and this was the trend across the country, we were taught ultrasound, we were taught 3 or 4 different types of electric stimulation, and we had diathermy and a few other modalities. that in the early 2000s, research was showing to some degree that that wasn't very effective. The outlier there might be Russian stim or, neuromuscular e-stim, NMES. Right. Pretty good in the research for muscle recruitment and activation. Everything else fell a bit by the wayside. And I think what we said, at least my generation of therapists, is modalities don't work. Right. So here we are trying to solve a problem, looking for add-on cash-based modalities, trying to build a hybrid practice and looking at other treatment options. And then at the same time, we're saying modalities don't work. That's quite the conflict. And it was a really big struggle. We started with Light Force, and I think I had 2 or 3 lasers back as early as 2018. And truth be told, we just had a lot of struggle rolling it out, right? When do we add it in? Should we take one less unit in order to add, a laser? What do we do here? And so the other thing that you should know is, here in my role at Breakthrough, I get to cheat. I get to talk with hundreds of practice owners and see what's working. So one of my favorite scenes from the movie Founder, which is details Ray Kroc. And yes, very highly unethical parts of that movie. I'm not sure whether they're historically accurate or not. Highly likely, yes. But if you remember the part of the movie, Michael Keaton is playing Ray Kroc. He's selling milkshake machines and he's struggling. He's a struggling salesman. And he gets a call from the dispatcher, and the McDonald's brothers want to order 6 milkshake machines. Well, this is like a heaven send, and at the time, Ray Kroc is using pay phones, and there's this scene where he's like, very, very desperate and defeated, sitting in his car, kind of banging his head against the steering wheel. He gets this call. He calls the McDonald brothers, which became McDonald's, and they had one restaurant. They ordered 6 milkshake machines, and then during the call said, you know what, why don't you make it 8? And he was just amazed. So he drives to the original McDonald's burgers, sees the operation that they're running, and says, wow, like there is something here. Ultimately ended up capturing that and, going to the franchise model, and the rest is kind of history. But that is really the role that I get to play at Breakthrough, is I get to talk with owners. I get to see, listen to Tony Sear, for example, was on our panel. He has 3 Light Force laser units. He's in Florida, and they did $465,000 in laser sales last year. Right. So that's a little bit of the conflict, a little bit of the struggle, the crossroads that we're at as an industry is, can we adapt and add a cash-based service? So the first thing that I mentioned, the biggest benefit is patient outcomes. And then I also mentioned when you do this the right way, it really helps differentiate your practice. And I want to give you an example. And I shared this at the Roundtable as well. So a few weeks ago, I was at a wrestling match, was talking with a father, and I noticed that one of his boys was wrestling and the younger son was not wrestling at the time. And I said, oh, what's going on with, and said his son's name. And he said, oh, he was at an elite baseball camp, threw across the infield, high 80s from third base, and felt a pop in his elbow. So right now, if you're a therapist, chiropractor in conservative health in any way at all in rehab, you're thinking UCL, right? That it's basically he's going to need Tommy John and everything else. So I said, oh, what did they do from there? What did you do for treatment? Well, the staff took a look at him. We were at the University of Alabama at the time, and he had, they don't think he tore his ACL or his UCL, and he actually has pain like in that up into the tricep tendon. And I was like, oh, that's a good sign. And I just said, do you want me to take a look at him? And he said, sure. He's in therapy elsewhere, but yeah, you can take a look at him. So I met the father and son at the clinic, and we were talking. He was 2 weeks into his therapy elsewhere. And I said, okay, when does it bother you? He said, primarily when I'm throwing. It's a 4 out of 10. I said, okay, it's 36 degrees outside. Let's go out back. We're in Pennsylvania. This is winter baseball. And he threw, and he made it up to about 60 feet. And I'm guessing it was like maybe 60, 70% speed. And he said, I'm starting to get pain now. It's bothering me a little bit. We went inside. I did all my normal manual therapy treatments on the tissue, everything, screened out the shoulder, cervical spine, thoracic spine, etc. Did a fairly thorough exam, enough to understand exactly what he had going on tissue-wise. I didn't see anything major, nothing to report. And we did a laser treatment. The laser treatment took 4 minutes and 40 seconds, and I just used the protocol that was already programmed in the machine. When we got done, he said, it actually feels really good right now. And I said, okay, let's go throw again. So this is about 20 minutes between throwing sessions, and he had 4 out of 10 pain throwing at 60 to 70% from 60 feet. He went up to 90 feet, had no pain at all, and definitely put a little more mustard, a little more speed, velocity on the ball. He then went home and he threw a 20-minute throwing session with no pain. I talked with the father. He said, hey, can we switch over to you? And I said, yeah, here's who to see. Dr. Dan Hintershitz is the clinical director at our Harrisburg office. Dan was just down in Florida with Joe and Mike from our practice. practice, and they did an educational session with the physical therapist and the Toronto Blue Jays at spring training. And they teach everywhere. This is the right person for you to see. And they switched over. Just got an update the other weekend, a few days ago, from the father. Very delighted. They switched over. They did a 6-pack of laser. Plus, Dan did find a few other things to work on to prevent future injury and make sure that he's strong throughout the season here. But that was just one example of positive outcomes, differentiated practice, right? And what they did from there is within a week, they had told another family with a student athlete who also had an issue. That family contacted me and I said, okay, let's ended up meeting at my house. And so I did all my normal manual therapy. This was a rib issue on the second son, also same age range, 15, 16 years old. Did all my normal manual therapy. Prone, had cavitation. I did the supine thoracic thrust, moved his rib cage all around, and pretty much no change. Was in fairly severe pain. I'll say 6 to 7 out of 10. I then said, okay, so it's 9 o'clock at night. Do you want to meet tomorrow evening and we'll do a laser session? Because I knew that they knew about that from the other family. We did a laser trial, instantly zero pain. That went from 6 out of 10 to 3 out of 10 a day or two later. 5 minutes after the laser treatment on the rib, the costovertebral junction where he was having a lot of pain and tenderness, I'm going to guess T8 from memory. Anyhow, so complete reduction of pain and inflammation, pain-free range of motion instantly with one treatment. That family then, so now we're like multiple referrals in, and from that we'll end up seeing a couple professional baseball players, and they made another referral as well for other services. So very quickly everything was around this laser, and it started with one dad saying, hey, nobody else, I've never seen this before.
Attention private practice owners, are you ready to thrive in 2025? Join us for State of PT, a free virtual event on February 27th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. Spend the day with industry experts discussing the new rules of private practice growth in 2025. Secure your complimentary spot now at stateofpt.com or click on the link in the description. Now, back to the episode.
My boys are treated all the time. They're in the top, they see the top orthopods, everything else, trying to stay healthy. Nobody's ever used this before. It wasn't my manual therapy skills, which I think are amazing. And you probably think your, clinical skills and manual therapy skills are amazing as well. But it was that little bit of a differentiator. So again, it's an anecdotal story, but I think there's a lot of power that people can hang, their experience easier on a piece of equipment that gives them significant pain relief within 5 to 10 minutes, right? And they're going to be a lot more motivated to use you for their treatment services that they're seeking and feeling better when you have something that's that powerful. So having said that, and I shared that at the roundtable, the next question that comes up is, how do I promote this service, right? Yes, I just shared a word of mouth referral and I happened to be at a wrestling match, said something, but how do we promote it? How do we get more people using this? And how do we do it in a way where that our clinicians are not feeling like they have to sell or convince, that bad 4-letter S word sell, that they don't have to do that, right? So there's 3 ways. And the framework that I want to give you today is, we know the 5 new patient pathways: reactivations, word of mouth referrals from patients, word of mouth referrals from physicians, partner referrals, and then cold traffic. There's 5 ways. The thing that we see working the best across the country for people that have add-on services, whether you're 100% cash-based, hybrid, or you're 100% insurance-based today, and you're looking to add a cash-based service to start your journey down the hybrid type of practice, there are 3 pathways we see that work the best. One is your existing patient flow. So that is people already coming in for treatment. The thing that we see working the best, and I've shared this on the podcast before, so this will be a review if you're a regular listener. What works the best is doing a trial. And yes, huge disclaimer here, you need to know your practice act and everything else that comes with a typical legal compliance disclaimer, but a trial of the modality. And then on the next visit, you simply ask, you've had treatment with laser, you've had treatment without laser. So let me back up. Okay, so visit number 1, you do the eval. You can do, most practices will do an eval without laser. Second visit, you then incorporate the laser and into the treatment, and you share on visit 3, okay, you've had treatment with laser, treatment without laser, which one do you prefer? Patient says the majority of the time, I'd like the laser as part of my treatment. Okay, that is not covered by your insurance. I recommend that you do a 6-pack. That is dollars or whatever your price is. How do you want to handle that? Right? Very, very simple way to implement cash-based service into your practice with existing existing patient flow. One of our directors recently added a laser unit into her practice in Hershey, Jan Grove. In week number 1, he did 71 trials and sold 15 packages for $6,630. And just to give you an idea, I'm going to guess they're at 250 visits a week right now. So that's what their patient flow looks like. Huge, not only top line revenue, bump in top line revenue, also significantly better outcomes with patients, right? They had good outcomes before. Now it's even better because they're knocking people out of that pain and inflammation stage very early on, even earlier, so they can focus on phase 2 and phase 3 of that rehabilitation process. So we can promote to our existing patients. By the way, and this came from one of our directors and partners talking with Tony Sear, and Tony shared this, and I agree with him. If you can't sell laser to existing patient flow, it'll be nearly impossible with your team to incorporate any other sort of cash-based service. It's, if you can't ask for money for a treatment service for laser, which has the vast majority of the time a same day, very significant therapeutic effect, same visit transformation, going to be very difficult to incorporate some other cash-based add-on services. So just a word to the wise there, and I agree with everything that Tony said there. The second pathway. So we have existing patient flow. We can send reactivation campaigns. We can go in, so we used breakthrough software in our practice. The last time I looked, there were 7 or 8 campaigns in there specifically for laser, and we can promote that to our past patient base. The thing that happens is when somebody comes in who, let's say we last saw them 3 years ago, and now they're coming in for laser. Now what happens is the vast majority of the time, there's an underlying problem that we can address with physical therapy. So not only are they getting the laser, but they're also signing up for another plan of care. Could be a new problem, could be a repeat problem, but don't ignore that. The best practices that I know, they're at least once or twice a year, they're promoting their cash-based service with a campaign to their past patient list. The third thing you can do, and this is the hardest lift in just about any market, is cold, right? You can go to cold traffic. So you can use Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok, YouTube, etc. If TikToks in when you're listening to this. You can use direct mail, print ads, etc. to promote your cash-based service. Hardest thing to do, I can tell you this, when you're doing cold traffic advertising, you want to make sure that you're incorporating testimonials that talk about the before and after transformation of that treatment technology. So it can be done. There's a lot that needs to line up that are well beyond the scope of this episode that I'll end up doing a review for cold traffic marketing that incorporates previous episodes here. But yeah, there's a lot to line up there. Market message, media match, etc. Doing the right education, telling the right story, especially focusing on messaging, which I covered in the last episode. But you get the idea. You can promote cold traffic marketing, and I would do them in that order. I would promote first, to work out the logistics and operations within my practice, promote to existing patient flow. The next thing that I would do is promote to my past patient list and get reactivations there. And then the third thing that I would do is, once I've mastered those first 2, then go to cold traffic. And again, the benefit there of doing that the right way is you're going to have people coming in for service that are not only buying your add-on cash-based service, but are likely going to be consuming, your physical therapy plan of care, or your chiropractic treatment or plan of care, or, functional med, whatever it is that you do, they're going to be consuming your other services as well. I wanted to get into staff buy-in. Maybe we'll make that another episode as well. Very important, how can you incorporate education into this? The one thing that I shared in the roundtable is, again, we're very focused on manual therapy, probably the code that's been hit the hardest over the last 16 years in that physician fee schedule that I mentioned. So greatest reduction, manual therapy, kind of difficult to understand, but nonetheless, the staff buy-in is key. We have we do rounds where SPTs, so students of physical therapy, or our clinicians will report on research. We just incorporated laser research into those rounds, and that has gone a lot better, right? So now there's buy-in because we see the research. There's infinite research there's a lot of research on laser, on shockwave, on MES, on other modalities as well. And you want to make sure that you're incorporating that. That helps with buy-in. The other thing that we've done in the past is we treat each other, right? So if a staff member has pain, we'll laser it. And then I can remember the first time we did this, receptionist, 7 out of 10 pain was in therapy, did a laser, 1 session, 2 out of 10. Instant change within 10 minutes. absolutely amazing. But then there was buy-in around that. So in this episode, we covered, how to think through getting more people using your cash-based services and 3 different ways to promote that. I did put together a sheet. This was for my practice internally. It's 35 direct-to-consumer processes that are part of our direct-to-consumer marketing system. It's a free download. It'll be in the show notes. You can download the link and get that. Start to think about, the benefits of direct-to-consumer marketing. It's the system that we deploy not only in our six locations, but also have helped thousands of other practice owners, not only in all 50 states in the US, but internationally as well, 11 other countries, deploy this direct-to-consumer marketing system. But you can start to take a look at the processes and incorporate that into your practice. Again, that's absolutely free. Link in the show notes. And yeah, so we covered a lot here. I talked about the Roundtable with Innovus. Thanks again, Mark. That was absolutely awesome and huge honor to be a part of that we did last week at CSM. And we talked about the benefit that when you do this the right way, you can help more patients get better outcomes and also get an ROI on your investment in the treatment technology, helps differentiate your clinic. I shared the story of our challenges incorporating laser within our practice, which mirrors what a lot of other practice owners have shared as well, and how we ultimately are overcoming that. And I shared some best practices, including, how to promote to your existing patient flow. And we talked about the 3 patient pathways and also staff education. So a lot in this episode. I hope you very much enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody. I was talking with an owner about marketing and specifically marketing a de novo clinic, and I wrote out 36 processes that we have in our marketing system. I go through, and this is simply a checklist, but I go through all 5 new patient pathways, reactivations, word of mouth referral, physician or professional licensed referral, partner referrals, and then cold traffic marketing. And I laid out all of our processes and what that looks like. If you'd like a copy of that, simply click on the link. You can download a copy so you know what a marketing system looks like that addresses all 5 new patient pathways. It's going to give you confidence whether you're opening a new clinic or you have an established clinic and you're just looking to fill the schedules of your existing therapist, or you're just looking for consistency in your new patient flow. This is how we think about, this is how we've evolved over 20 plus years working with now over 2,000 private practice owners from all over the world, not only all 50 states in the US, but 11 countries internationally, physios in 11 countries internationally as well. So if you like that sheet, it's absolutely free. You can click on the link, download it, and get a checklist of the marketing processes that we have in our marketing system.